is what role are we best suited to play? You know, and I think one of the things that we find, we have an assessment tool we use that takes a look at how people are when you interview them, or in a more formal setting, versus how they actually think and make decisions. And it was published in the Harvard Business Review about 8 years ago, and what we found is that there's actually no correlation between the two. So the way people show up in an interview, you know, when Tony's interviewing them and asking all these questions, if they're game-faced, we call that the role style. Okay, I'm in role style right now. It's whenever we're conscious of how we're coming across. But there's this other dimension called operating style. And that's how we actually think, it's how we make decisions. Those two do not correlate. So think about this. When you switch between these modes, when you're lost in thought making decisions, that's the operating style. Versus the role style when you're trying to present yourself as something. Well, therein lies a complexity in trying to answer the question, what role do we play on a team that's going through a transformation? And really trying to understand ourselves well. And one of the best ways to answer that is to ask people that know you very well where you get most energized. And the question ultimately comes down to, do you want to be the leader of the team? We call that a hyper leader, a high impact performer. Somebody who is mission driven and wants to actually make it happen more than they even want to get a new title or raise or promotion. They just want to make something happen. That's what we call the hyper leader. Or are you sitting out there and you have huge responsibilities and you need to go build one of these teams? Maybe you just want to go task someone else with being the hyper leader. And you can be the producer, we call it, and you can sort of orchestrate it. Those are two examples of roles we find critical in transformation. Are you going to be the air cover, providing general direction and being the producer, kind of like the Hollywood analogy, or do you want to be the director of the production and actually run the meetings, run the team, etc.? I don't know about your thoughts. I'd love to throw this back to my panelists here, which is, don't lie to yourself.
I try to lie to the headhunter.
Exactly. Don't make Tony any more upset than he needs to be. In all seriousness, do you get energized by hiring people, developing a team, and driving that group to a mission? Or would you rather be like the venture capitalist, the investor, the producer, that hires that person and sets them up for success? Answering that question is critical. And it may change over time, but research shows people tend to get a lot more energy out of one or the other. And knowing where you fit is the first step in then figuring out who else to hire around you.
Interesting. I'll bring this back to more of a search process and thinking about what I do every day. Sometimes I feel less like a headhunter